Hello and welcome. My name is Dawn Casey. Today we're going to talk about the 10 most common money myths. So many people are working hard to make the right decisions about their finances. And while they may believe they're on the right track, there's so much misinformation out there. And in fact, a variety of things can lead someone to think they're more financially savvy than they really are, and that overconfidence, again, can really take you down the wrong path. The reality is that it is often described like this. People just don't know what they don't know, right? And making decisions based upon misconceptions can really be dangerous for your wallet. So in order to form the right attitude about personal finance and become much more confident in the power of your own wealth and decision making, it's important to first understand the truth behind some of the most common myths and really get your money working for you. Invest that money, grow wealth, and retire as early as possible. And to quote Dave Ramsey, you must gain control over your money or the lack of it will forever control you. Let's get started on those 10 myths. Hello and welcome. My name is Dawn Casey with over 20 years of experience leading human resource departments and the recruitment function. I now help people with their career challenges, changes, and of course questions. This is the Career Rescue Coach YouTube channel. What makes this channel a little bit different is I've been helping employees navigate the career waters for the last 20 years. And I've been very successful in my own career, and I share my experiences and my HR stories throughout all my videos with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Let's get to the 10 money myths. Okay, first we're going to start with the 10 biggest myths about money. Number 1, buying a home is better than renting. You know, I think this still persists because it's long been part of the American dream. We just have trouble letting go of this. It's always been finish college, get a job, get married, buy a house. And for many years, buying a house was a good investment, but today, owning a home costs a lot of money. There's maintenance, there's upkeep, there's improvements. It almost never stops. Ask any homeowner. The reality is if you're young and just starting out your career, it's way better to rent. And it gives you flexibility to travel, chase your dream jobs, move across the country for a job if that's what you want to do. You know, you want to avoid that maintenance. And maybe even invest that money into a retirement account versus spending it on a home right away. But if you're thinking about investing in real estate, now here's a better option. Invest in a duplex or a fourplex so that you can rent that out and get that write-off and actually have a place to live if you ever want to have a home base and then travel somewhere else and come back, right? So this is much better than dumping money into a single family home that you really just don't get much return on. Number 2, you have to be rich to invest. You know, you see those people driving Mercedes, BMWs, you know, wearing these beautiful Armani suits, and you think those are the people that can invest. I can't afford to invest. Well, it's simply not true. The reality is that anyone can invest, and even starting out with just a little bit of money. In fact, if you don't even know where to start, there's something called a betterment account. A betterment account invests in a portfolio of passive index tracking equity and fixed income exchange traded funds. Check it out. It's worth checking into because it's a good way to start if you don't know anything about investing at all. Now, did you know if a young person invests wisely from the age of 18 that they could actually retire by age 20? Yes, that is absolutely true, and people do it all the time. But instead, people get married, they have children, and they end up working their entire life away versus had they invested early when they were young, they would have already been retired. So invest, invest, invest. Number 3, carry a small credit card balance to increase your credit score. Now, I don't know where this came from, but it is not true. The reality is that you can increase your credit score actually exponentially if you continue to pay off your balance in full every single month. Here, you know, I did an experiment once. What I did was I put all my utilities for about 6 months on my credit card every single month, and every single month I paid off that balance in full. And I tell you what, that act alone increased my credit score exponentially. So keep in mind, You want to use credit to your advantage. You want to just use it to raise your credit score. But credit cards in general are not the kind of debt that you should be carrying. Always pay off your credit cards. Number 4, I don't earn enough to save. Boy, you know, in some cases, this may be true, but in most, it's not. The problem is, or the reality is that people don't pay themselves first. And I understand, you know, I used to do this too. I used to say to myself, oh, you know, I'll put money aside to invest, you know, at the end of the month. But by the end of the month, I typically have spent everything and I have nothing left. So you want to make yourself the priority. Make sure that you're paying yourself and putting money into a savings account. Now, a little trick I like to do is that I actually have auto deposit on my checking account, my savings account. So when my check comes in, I put just enough in my checking to cover my bills and basic necessities. And the entire rest of my check goes into my savings so that my savings builds very quickly and I have money to work with, invest. And I'm also very conscious of when I have to take a withdrawal that I'm taking money out of my savings and my investment. So, a little trick to try. Number 5, invest in gold. You know, when the economy takes a significant downturn, some people will recommend buying gold. It's safe, it's a physical asset. And you know what? It's simply not true. The reality is that gold is a method of diversification, not a method of investment, and there's a big difference. So, I mean, imagine going to the grocery store when times are really tough and taking out a gold coin. The cashier would have no idea what to do with that. So, it's better to build your wealth, build a portfolio of a variety of assets and income sources, and then buy some gold so you can diversify that portfolio and have a variety of holdings versus just one type of holding. So that's the way you buy gold. Number 6, my partner manages our money so I don't have to worry about it. You know, I think this is the worst myth out there. You know, divorce rates are up to over 50%. So, you know, you may go into it with good faith and you may end up getting divorced. And if you know nothing about the money, you'll probably not end up with any. So don't do this. The reality is that none of us should leave the most important aspect of our life entirely in the hands of someone else. It doesn't matter if they're trustworthy and you love them and you know that they have the best intentions. People make mistakes. And so you need to be involved. There is absolutely no excuse for this. What is really sad is when one spouse dies and that spouse was handling all of the financial affairs, and the other spouse left behind knows nothing about the financial situation. Really bad. You don't want to be put into this situation ever. So educate yourself. Don't do this. Number 7, cash is king. You know, it's always better to pay cash for things rather than take out a loan or put them on a credit card, right? Not necessarily. The reality is that in some cases you may be able to get a discount for cash, but not very often. Using cash for most purchases will leave you with almost no recourse if something goes wrong. So credit cards give all kinds of protections, offer extended warranties, and fraud protections. So it is worth purchasing some of those major things through credit cards, but paying off those balances immediately. Now, one of the things that I did was instead of buying a car and making payments and paying all that interest and paying that full coverage insurance price, I actually saved up for a couple of years and I bought a car outright. And I will always do this, and it was the best decision I ever made because of the amount of money I saved. So be very careful about how you use your cash and your credit. Number 8, a savings account is a good place for an emergency fund. Well, savings accounts are a good way to waste money because the average interest rate is about 1%. It is very, very sad. So what you could do, however, if you have a significant amount of savings, is put half of it into your savings account and half of it into a safe investment fund that you could retrieve the funds, let's say, within 3 to 5 days. So you have 2 types of savings, one not earning you interest and the other earning you at least some interest. Number 9, 2 incomes are better than one. Well, of course it is, isn't it? You're bringing in 2 incomes. You know, more money is always better. Not necessarily. The reality is that when people are working, they're paying for childcare, commuting expenses, and lunches out. You may want to take a look at those expenses and see if there's a way to cut back and maybe just have one person work and one person take care of the kids for a period of time. You want to really weigh carefully those expenses. Sometimes, that double income isn't really working for you. Another thought is that you may want to take a look at cutting down expenses, trying to live on one income, and then investing that second income into growing wealth, into growing retirement, and really making a difference in your future. The point here is consider living on less now so that you can grow wealth today and live better in the very near future. Number 10, I don't need an emergency fund. I have credit cards. As long as I have plenty of room on my credit cards, I don't need an emergency fund. But if you lose your job, boy, you're in trouble. The reality is that it takes an average of 4 months to find a job. You can rack up a lot of credit card interest in that amount of time, and if you had a savings, you'd have had to pay no interest whatsoever. This is a really bad backup plan, I have to say. Savings is always the better course of action. Have a significant amount of savings, because whenever you have savings, it gives you options such as if you get stuck in a bad job, you can walk away. Or if you get laid off, you have time to look for another job. The key here is get rid of the credit cards, depend upon savings, and build a healthy savings. And especially for single people, I would say a year's worth of salary is a good amount of money to have in savings. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found some of the information very helpful. If so, be sure to check out some of my other videos, such as 5 steps to negotiating a better salary or how to negotiate a raise at your current job. Okay, so we've talked about the 10 money myths. I hope some of these surprised you and made you reevaluate how you really think about money, because the way you think about money determines if you have money. Now, please remember to subscribe to this channel. I'd love to talk to you and hear comments from people. Don't forget to check out the Career Rescue Coach Facebook page for great articles and questions that you might have. And be sure to check out my social media channels and come visit me in those other locations. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dawn Casey as a Career Rescue Coach. And remember, change your job, change your life. Be safe and be well.